Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 of lecture where we are understanding the fundamentals of Ubuntu command line. Today we will start by creating a biological table. Here I'll be creating a small tab separated biological table. Tab separated files commonly use the extension .tsv. Each row represents an observation, each column represents a variable. Here the columns are going to be gene, sample and count. As you see that the command is printf within inverted quotes, you can see a lot of different names which is going to be our column names, and it's separated by /t. This is used to make the file tab separated. At a lot of places you also see that we have \n. This is to start a new line. Then we just put the greater than sign and you give the location where you want to save your table or your TSV file, and you give the name of the file. So I'm just going to name it as gene_counts.tsv. To see the contents of the file, we can just use the command cat. Then again, you give the complete location of the file with the file name. The data are stored as plain text. Tabs separate the columns. Now suppose we just want to see the first few rows. How can we actually do this? So we can use the command head -n and then just specify the number of rows you want to visualize, and then you give the path of the file which you want to investigate. In our case it will be gene_counts.tsv file. The next command we are learning is wc, which means word count. So when you write wc and then -l, it actually counts the lines for you. So you can just use wc-l and then give the name of the file for which you want to count the number of lines present in that file. The result will also include the header line. Therefore, if the file contains 7 lines, it contains 1 header and 6 data records. And if you're using wc command with -w, then it will count the words for you. So again, you can just use wc-w and then give the file name along with file path. If we use wc-c, then this option actually counts the bytes or characters depending on the system and text encoding. These things really comes handy when we are dealing with huge biological data set and huge files. Then next up is searching and filtering for biological data. So we already created a biological table. Now if you just want to search for some word in your file or in your table, how can we actually do that? For that we have a command called grep, which searches for text patterns inside the files. So here I'm selecting every line containing IRF1. So for this the command will be grep. Then in inverted quotes you will just write the text that you want to search in the file. In our case it's IRF1, and then you give the file path. We can similarly select all the rows belonging to any treated sample. So let's say we just want to look for all the rows which is having the word treated in it. So we can just use the command grep inverted quotes treated, and then you give the file path. Then it will just search for all the sample or all the rows which is having treated it in its row. If you use grep with -i, then it makes the search case insensitive. So even if you will write IRF1 in small letters, still it will search for all the IRF1 rows, even if in the actual file or even if in the rows it is written in capital letters. If you use -n with grep, then it displays the matching line numbers. So for example, if I write grep -n under quotes stat1 and then the file path, it will tell me how many lines, how many rows are actually having stat1 in it. If we use grep with -v, then it reverses the match. In our example, let's say that we want to find files which is not having control in it. So if we write grep -v underscore control and then file path, it will reverse the match. So instead of showing lines containing control, it shows lines that do not contain control. In bioinformatics, we often use grep to select records containing a gene name, chromosome name, sample label, quality status, or any annotation terms. If you use grep with -c, it will count how many matching lines were found. So if we write grep -c treated in inverted quotes and then the file path, this will tell you how many lines in the file had treated in it. Next, we will be learning how to select columns with cut and filtering with awk command. The command cut selects columns from structured text, and the option -f can be used to select any field number or any column number. So if we write cut -f1 and then the file name, this means that we want to look at the column 1, and this will give us the gene column values. But if we want to look at more than one column, if we want to select more than one field, then we can just write the column numbers in a comma separated manner after -f. So we can write cut -f. Let's say I want to look at columns 1 and 3, which is gene and count column. Then I can write cut -f 1, 3 and then the file name. If you want to see lines from the end of the file, then you can use the command tail. Normally tail displays the final lines of the file, but if you use tail with -n, then it can display the number of lines you will indicate it to display from the end of the file. This is a very common way to remove a one-line header before further processing. So let's say we want to display the last 2 lines of the file, then we can write tail -n +2 and then the file name, and then you press enter. Next up, we have awk command, which is a very powerful tool for processing column-based text. The option -F defines the field separator. In our case, we have a tab separated file. So the field separator is \t. $sign represents the column. So if you write $3, this means that we are actually talking about third column. And then you also give a condition that greater than 100. And then you give the file name. So this command is basically going to select rows where the value in column 3 is greater than 100. So in single quote, you can just give the condition, and this can work for different types of things. If we further extend this command and add nr to it, so nr represents the current record number, which is effectively the line number. So if we write nr equal to 1, this keeps the first line, which is the header. The double vertical line means OR. Therefore, this command keeps either the header or rows with a count greater than 100. So if we further extend the command by adding nr, then we can also record the line numbers. If you use the $sign and then let's say we just write $2 and then equal to treated, this means that we select rows where the sample equals to treated, and inside the curly brackets we print columns 1 and 3. This gives us the treated genes and their counts. You do not need to master AWK today. The important idea is that command line tools can select rows and columns from biological tables without opening spreadsheet softwares. Next up, we will be learning commands used for sorting or finding unique values and about pipes. So what are pipes and how can that be useful in command line? The first command that we are looking at is cut. So if you use cut with -f, which basically represents the column that you want to look at, and then you give the file name. So if I write cut -f1 and then the file name, this will return the gene column for us, including the header, because in our case, the first column in our file is gene column. But if we want to combine this command with another command, and let's say we just want to look the first column values, but only for the last 2 lines of the file. To do so, we can use the command tail -n +2 and then the file name, and then you put the pipe, which is the vertical bar. So this vertical bar is called a pipe, and then you write cut -f1. A pipe sends the output of the command on the left directly into the command on the right. So first, tail -n +2 will remove the header, and then cut -f1 extracts the first column. Now if we want to further add one more condition to it, let's say we want to sort the values which are being displayed on the terminal according to the gene names. Then we can write tail -n +2 and then the file name, pipe, the vertical bar, cut -f1 and then pipe again, the vertical bar, and then you write sort. So this command will do 3 things. First, we will only be looking at the last 2 lines of the file, and with the cut command, we are only looking at the gene column values, which is our first column, and then with the sort command, you sort it according to the gene names. The sort command arranges the lines alphabetically. If we further want to add one more condition to it, let's say we want to add unique, then the output is now sent into unique. The unique command removes adjacent duplicate lines, and sorting first places identical values next to each other. So if we write the command tail-n plus 2 and then the file name pipe cut-f1 pipe sort -unique, then we will only be looking at the last 2 lines, the first column values, which will be sort in the alphabetical order, and all the duplicate values will be removed. And if with unique command you also add an option -c, then this asks unique to count how many times each value occurs. So this single line tail-n plus 2, the file name, pipe, cut-f1, pipe, sort, pipe, unique-c, this single line performs 4 operations. It removes the header, extracts the gene column, sorts the genes and counts each unique gene. This is the basic philosophy of Linux command line analysis. We combine small commands with each command performing one clear task. Sort can also be used independently. So if you use the command sort with option -t and then the $sign, which will represent the field separator, and then if you write -k 3,3n and then the file name. So what does this command basically do? Sort command can also sort by a selected column. Here the tab is defined as the separator, and -k 3,3 specifies the third column. The letter n means numerical sorting. And if you write nr instead of n, so by adding r, you reverse the order. The largest values therefore appear first. Next, we will be learning commands for copying, moving, renaming and deleting files. So the first command is cp, which helps in copying the file. For this, you write cp, the file name, or along with the path if you're not in the same directory where your file is. And then you give the path where you want to save the file, so the output path. And we can also check this with ls command. So if you just write ls results, it will show all the files which are present in that folder. We can also create a copy of the file with a different name in the same location. So if you use the command cp and then the file name, and then in the output path also you put the same folder name with another file name, then it will just create a copy of the same file with a different name. Next command that we will learn is mv. This command is used to move a file from one location to another location. So let's say we have a file, you just write mv and then the file path where your input file is present, and then space, and then the file path where you want to save or where you want to move your input file. So when the source and destination are in the same directory but have different names, mv renames the file. And when the destination is another directory, mv moves the file. If your source, which is your input path, and the destination, the output path, both are same and it's the same file, then it will just change the name of the file, it will rename the file. If the destination is another directory, then mv will simply move the file. For example, if we write the command mv and then our file name, and then we create another folder and we want to move it there, it will be the same file with the same name saved in another directory. Then we have a command called touch. Touch command is basically used to create the file, as we already saw it in our previous lecture. If you want to create a file called temporary.txt, you can just use the command touch to create this file. And then we have a command rm to remove the files. So rm stands for remove, and this command must be used very carefully. Command line deletion often does not move the file into a normal recycle bin, and it can be a permanent delete, so just be very careful whenever you're using this command. Always check your current location and the file name before pressing enter. So for removing any file, you just have to be in the same directory, and you can do that either by using cd command, or you just directly open the terminal from that directory, and then you just write rm and the file name which you want to delete. So for example, just to show you one more thing, if we create a new file with the touch command, and now we want to remove this file, but if we use rm command with option -i, it even asks for the confirmation before deletion. So this is much better than using just RM, because there you might risk deleting your file permanently, and by mistake you can also delete an important file. But if you use the RM command with rm-i, it will always ask for confirmation, and then you still can save your file. And if you write N when it asks for confirmation, so the file was not deleted. But if you write Y, then the file will be deleted. Be especially careful with recursive deletion commands. Do not use rm-rf unless you fully understand the target path, because this will permanently delete the file. This is it for today's video. The rest of the commands we will be learning in our final part of this lecture series, where we are understanding the fundamentals of Ubuntu command line. And I really hope that you will practice these commands. So see you in the next lecture. Happy learning!